It's like when we have our organic conversations, we're in the zone,
Um,
and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, stop. I have to hit record. And then we kind of go from like Zen to blip, blop, blip, bloop. And that's okay. We'll get back. And, first of all, I think it's been way too long
yes.
since we've done a
Yes.
podcast. And I am so glad you reached out. And I'm so glad that we have a chance to talk today. What has been going
Oh
on in your
my
world?
gosh.
And also, ladies and gentlemen, you need to go to this website real quick. So after this, we'll wait till after the podcast, but then go to ellensart.com. Look at this. I've got a Walking Dead t-shirt that I'm going to frame that was sent to me from Ellen. Thank you. And Stranger Things, Dumb and Dumber. We're in the Matrix and you're getting the downloads, and we're going to get the downloads today, but over 2,500 pieces of beautiful art for different galleries, art shows, private collections, film productions, publishers, and charities. And I'm waiting to get my custom piece leak project. I'm going to put it in the background. Ellen, I've been doing my podcasts in the garage, and it's about 15 to 20 degrees out here, right? And it's about maybe 5 degrees warmer in the garage. And it's okay. I like it, right? I like to stay cold because it boosts the metabolism. I'm looking forward to what you have to say. How have the podcast been? What have you been up to?
Oh my gosh. So, I'm on so many different trails of information. And on my channel, I've just been sharing sort of surface level stuff, but also my whole intention is to be a person who plants seeds for everyone else to go and, do their own research. But because of my nature and my connectivity, I've been practicing Franz Barden's work. I've been incorporating, working with water. I have a spiraling Mayu water decanter that will spiral the water. And since I've learned some things from Marcel Vogel's work with the crystal holding your consciousness, you can put love into the crystal. And then I have a piece of copper wire that holds the crystal around the water while the water spirals clockwise, and it brings in and recharges, restructures the water. This is how simple we can change the world. And because of the 4 elements, I got into alchemy in the 4 elements, and my mind started just completely exploding everywhere. Because I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, you can see the symbols, you can see, like all the connecting points. Once you learn the yin and yang, and then the 4 elements, the alchemy of 4 elements, that's it. Game over. Everybody's going to just like shoot off like stars into the stratosphere, because it is absolutely everything in our existence. And we can find all of the answers to all the problems in the world through this knowledge. It's yin and yang. It's polar opposites. So I'm going to be presenting that today. But what you and I were discussing was somehow something inside of me, since I've been doing these meditations with the elements and breathing and doing all this stuff, I've started downloading information in the morning before I get out of bed. And even today, I saw more connectivity to the oneness of the universe, which is one voice, and how it presents itself to us, and then how it was in the Golden Age, which was only about 4,000 years ago. So that's why I was saying the UFOs, this Tatarian narrative, the golden mean of all the architecture was based on sound frequencies, because sound and light are one unit. We are all one unit, but we're fragmented pieces of the whole. And that's why we're trying to scatter across the 4 winds to try to find all the information to bring it back into the collective consciousness. And these people, there are people that are waiting for us to awaken to their presence. They are the Hyperboreans. We're calling them Tartaria, but it's Hyperborean. When you start studying these old maps, like Mercator's map of the 1500s, where it shows this landmass that what they call the North Pole. It's not the North Pole, it's the center of the earth. And in alchemy, it is gold. When you look into alchemy, you'll see Terra as the cross-section of the north, south, east, west. It's also the 4 seasons, the 4 cardinal directions and the 4 seasons. But then the alchemical symbol for gold is a circle with a dot in the middle. When you look at Mercator's map of the 1500s, it hits you. It strikes you like a bat, pow. look at this. It has the 4 rivers in the 4 cardinal directions, and in the middle is Mount Meru, or the sacred mountain, Mount Sumeru. It's been called many different things, but this is where the Hyperboreans live. They live on the 4 islands, and there's this thing called the kings of the 4 corners, who were the protectors of the world. These people are larger in stature than us. They are giants. But there are other giants in the world of Yggdrasil that need to be known about as well, because they are the ones who are the elemental giants, who also bring about these cosmic changes in weather. But that's a deeper rabbit hole that I wasn't really going to get into today, but I just wanted to bring that out, that more people need to bring all of the knowledge in. We need to just work together. And that's why I reach out to you. Once I've got a presentation that I can show in visuals, then I'll go, okay, we got to get in touch with Rex, because you're so awesome. You just like allow people onto your platform. So
only really cool people on the platform.
Yeah,
from now on. I've made a few mistakes in the past.
No, you're cool. So that's why I'm like, I am just so appreciative of you and what you're doing for humanity, because we need these junctions to be able to connect with other people. And I reach out to other people, other creators, to say, hey, look, I have some information that you can have to help you to see more. Because I reached out to Praveen, the guy who's doing all the research in India of the temples. I'm like, oh my gosh, because I've studied the cult of the Black Cube, I comprehend why they built the temples downwards in opposition of the light, because they're going towards the darkness. That's why they have these feelings and sensations of evil, or doesn't give them a good vibration. I mean, all this stuff, it ties into everything. So we need more connectivity, so that we can just speed up this great awakening and get to the foundations of our world and what it truly means to be here. Because we're here with a divine purpose. Each one of us are. Most people have not awakened to this because of the material world that has been sold to them, and they're not in touch with the spirit. So, but that's okay. Everybody has their awakening in divine timing. So some of us are just here for other reasons. But what I'm going to do is I want to go ahead and start this presentation, Rex. I don't know if you have an interview scheduled after this one, but
I do, but it's a few hours out. We got plenty of time.
Okay.
Let's rock it. I got my coffee.
Oh my gosh.
I got my coffee.
Okay, good.
And yeah, we got organics. We're ready to roll.
Oh, good.
I'm ready to learn and have fun.
I'm just going to tell you that, this might be 2.5 hours. I don't know. Because you can stop me at any moment that you have a question. Once I start the presentation, because I developed a PowerPoint presentation with images so that we could kind of comprehend what I'm trying to get the message across of, and how some of these things overlap and correlate. It's so profound just to know the foundations of our world and to help people see, so that they can then remember who they are, because this is the most important thing, is to remember who we are. That's why I have so much connectivity to the elven world. But get this, we're all elves, because the self, or ourselves, they put elf in the word for a reason. The S is probably for the
yourself.
Serpent. Yes.
Yours elf.
Yes. You are S. The S is probably the serpent that interfered with the genetics somehow, or somewhere down the line. I know that there's good and bad in everything, because that's the duality of this world of yin and yang, is that you cannot have one without the other. So even in the serpentine world, they have good factions and bad factions. But even humans and animals, everything, plants. So once we kind of get back to the foundations, then we can start to comprehend what it all means. And it's just remembering. That's all this is. And the genetics hold the memories. Once you start unlocking the keys to the doors inside of you, that's when you start going, oh my gosh. And then you'll have a connection to a higher consciousness that will download information for you. I mean, I've had masters, Asian masters, in my mind telling me certain things, and somehow my spirit knew years ago to anoint my body with oil and salt, So I went to the Dead Sea back in 2018. I went to Petra and I went to the Dead Sea and I floated in the Dead Sea. And there they have the salt that's just encrusted on the rocks. And you can just grab it and take it. So I brought back about 2 pounds of the salt from the Dead Sea and then made a concoction with it that I then anoint myself. And it amplifies the electrical charge of crystalline structures inside your body. This is all alchemy. I didn't know it back then, but now that I've been studying alchemy, I'm like, oh my gosh. So in alchemy, you have the 4 elements. You have the air and fire principle that are actually over the earth. It's in the air, and the fire is the spirit and the light. So then you have the earth and water, which are yin. And they are the principle that we need for our bodies to thrive. Both of them are part of us and our connectivity. So when I look around here at the cell phone towers, how they're built in a pyramid fashion, which the pyramid is the fire symbol, a pyramid, fire in the middle. The cell phone towers are amplifying the fire principle. And the construction of them are made of steel, which is also the protons or positive electrons of the fire principle. And then the millimeter waves are also amplifying the fire principle. Then geoengineering, because they're using barium, strontium, aluminum, and all these other chemical particulates, they're also raining fire down on us that we are not aware of because we don't know the 4 elements. But once you start diving into this, you see that they're going into the ground, and it's harming the yin principle, which is the earth and the water. There's a biology in the soil that needs to thrive on yin, but it is destroying them through the fire principle. All these heavy metals are sinking into the earth, drying out the earth, and also drying out us. The trees around here are developing fungus, and it's killing them. And nobody notices because they don't have eyes to see, but it's why the branches are breaking and falling off, and the plants are starting to die off, but these other plants are starting to try to take over because they can take this acidic principle of yang. So, it's all this stuff that's happening all around us that no one has really developed the entire consciousness to see. But I see it all because I have a small farm, and I'm like, why are my trees dying? And then I can't even dig into the ground in the summer because it's so dry and hard because there's no more biology. It's gone deeper into the soil. So, I've put that in this presentation. A little bit of what we can do is to bring the old knowledge back, because right now what we have that's emerging for the age of Aquarius is the metaverse and the metaphysical. The metaverse is the antithesis of life, and the metaphysical is us regaining the lost knowledge to get us back to life. So the metaverse, again, meta means beyond, and then verse is a voice or a sound, because you make a verse usually in sound, like creating sentences. It's all sound vibration, but they've already hijacked the term. So that way they can create their, constructive world inside the Saturnian cube that is going to collect people's consciousness. And a lot of people are going to embrace it because they are not spiritual. And that's one of the things we need to raise awareness on, is like, which road do you want to choose? Do you want to choose the Borg, or do you want to choose the physical and the eternal life through the physical? So, Rudolf Steiner talked about Ahriman that was going to be rising during this time. And on the other channel, the Dark Journalist, he talked about Ahriman a lot, and he said that it was his thought that it was perhaps this artificial intelligence, the idea of artificial intelligence that was rising, that would then bring forth Ahriman into physical reality. But, I don't know. It's just more stuff to research. But let
me jump in on that, because I've actually been listening to quite a bit of Rudolf Steiner over the past several weeks and listening to Ahriman, his discussions on Ahriman. And it's fascinating. The one discussion when he was mentioning how much human power or human force the machine can create. And this was over 100 years ago, right? When Rudolf Steiner was talking about this stuff, or maybe it wasn't, maybe I think it was about 100 plus years ago. I'll double check on that. It was a long time ago. It was before nuclear weapons. And it was right after World War I think is when he was talking. And now we're at such a degree of technology and the destructive force that something that weighs, say, 150 pounds could destroy much of the planet. It's a multitude of people, and he was kind of connecting it to Ahriman, but the way he was describing technology and war and Ahriman, fascinating and frightening at the same time. And so let's just remind ourselves that for every action, like you said, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So if there's something that's creating that much destruction, there's got to be something that creates that much life to offset it.
Yes, exactly. There can never be one greater than another, although it seems that way sometimes. That's why we just went through this entire generations, thousands of years throughout the age of Pisces, because that's all the timeline we have right now. From the golden age that happened, it starts at Gemini, goes through Taurus, and then goes into Aries. And Aries is the crown chakra, and Taurus is the mind. Well, apparently, from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, he talks about how the Atlanteans went downward in their consciousness because they wanted more power. They became lustful for power and control. And so with the knowledge that they had attained from the golden age of all this, we are one in this unity consciousness, with all the magic that they used, because that's really what it was all about, was utilizing the universe or one voice to create from the ethers. And so they took that knowledge and started warring. And from the art history that I learned, it began with Akhenaten, who was trying to bring about the one God theory, when there's multitudes of consciousness out here that are trying to help the world. And then there's, of course, the opposite. The darkness is always trying to take it away. So, all of that happened. And ever since that time, there's been wars. And so, we haven't been privy to the knowledge because we were indoctrinated in the camps that we call schools. And that was all by design by some of these ones who had come. I guess they were descendants of the ones who fell in Atlantis. And there's so much to connect to that story. I mean, how, Israel came about. It's Isis, Ra, and El, the Holy Trinity, basically. But how the Rothschilds actually went around the world to 7 different locations. Even Texas was one of them, trying to establish their Isis, Ra, and El, where the chosen ones would be. And now there's this thing that's called the Jerusalem syndrome, where people go and they visit Jerusalem and they become maniacally religious just all of a sudden. It's the craziest thing. I'm like, what's happening? So another thing that I downloaded based on this radiant frequency idea was that they moved all of our state capitals from one longitude, latitude to another longitude, latitude. And my keen spidey senses say there's a reason for this. So what I came up with was, if Mercator's map and all of those other old maps of the flat earth plane are real, there's 4 cardinal directions with an ice wall, and we're like kind of in the middle of these land masses.
Do you think the earth is flat?
No. Those stars that circle Polaris continually, eternally, that are basically a chandelier of light, they continue to rotate. And that means that the energies on those lines that go towards the middle are going to change and fluctuate with the change of the location. And I'm like, I wonder if that's why they changed all of these state capitals. They changed the capital of the United States. Everything has been moved because they've been using geomancy, because the rest of us don't have the knowledge of magic, but it's coming back. That's why we see it everywhere. Harry Potter and some of these other movies were just the beginning phase, because they know the timelines are changing and evolving into this greater awareness. And so now you go on Netflix or any of these other channels and you see magic and witchcraft and sorcery and, all these things involving magic, because that's what we're about to learn, is about how to use the elements inside and outside of ourselves through the mind. The mind is everything. The universe is mind. That's from the Kabbalion. So once we kind of get the seeds of foundational truths out for people to truly do some studying, then we can kind of move forward even greater, in this mass of consciousness that's starting to bring things back into the collective. So that's the whole notion of my reaching out, because I just want to plant seeds. I'm just a gardener. I'm not a foremost authority. I just want to share in my findings, and then let's move along, maybe at a greater pace.
You got a green thumb?
I don't, because I'm an air sign. So I try, I just let my garden perpetuate itself, which it does. I'm like, I go try to give it love. But most of the plants that people give me, they die inside my house because I don't know what it is. It's weird. I don't have the earth. I need more yin, I guess. I don't know.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, what about you? I mean, do you have a garden or anything?
No, I don't, but I'm one of these days. Yeah. When I'm done paying way too much for rent and I buy a house, I'll start a garden.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I could have $1 million house for what I pay for rent here. It's ridiculous.
Oh, I'm sure.
Insane. Yeah. I'm about ready to go move back into the van. The van is almost done.
Oh, good.
3 years. It's been 3 years. He's like, yeah, Rex, go get a Sprinter van. Don't convert your Astro van. Get a Sprinter van. I'm like, okay. So I got a Sprinter van. And then I gave it to him in December 3 years ago, and he still has it.
That's awesome.
Here's the bright side though. It's got low miles.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to sell it. Actually, I think I'm going to sell it and buy some land and buy a studio and, network with different radios. But I'm pattern interrupting again. You've got a 2.5 hour presentation to share, and I'm going to drink more coffee, and I'm going to hit the mute button, and you have so rock and roll.
Yeah, there's just so much. I'm actually starting a compendium right now because I'm like, I got to do something to try to get this out to people. So I'm making this book, and it's going to be artistic, but yet, chock full of all of these little gems that I've come across along my way. So hopefully I can speed that along too. That's going to be a long process because it's a lot of information. But without further ado, let me start this, and you can interrupt at any time, just please, by all means.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we have your attention, please? Slideshow presentation begins.
Commencing. Let me just close some of these.
In blocks. 5, 4, 3,
2, 1. Here we go. I'm going to close the little video box. There we go. That way we can have some more room. And I got to move all the invisible bars that most people can't see. Okay, we are now beginning our journey of the 4 elements and the secrets of the universe. Now, keep in mind, I do not claim to be the 4 authority on anything, even the 4 elements and our universe, but there's some things that I found that I want to show people. All right, here we go. Let me click on this. Now, here we go. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And when the student is truly ready, the teacher will disappear. I believe that we always need a teacher, even when we're in the astral, even as we go into higher consciousness. But that's, a tale for another time. I'm making this presentation to help people see how everything in existence connects together and how magic, or the word of God, which is the sound, is the foundation of all creation. Science and spirituality belong together in one unit instead of separately. And in science, they leave out the spiritual aspects because they cannot prove the spirit exists. This is very important because there's a lot of evidence out here that they've basically just been dodging the whole subject. The physicist Max Planck in 1858 to 1947 once wrote, "Science cannot solve the ultimate mystery of nature, and that is because in the last analysis, we ourselves are part of nature and therefore part of the mystery that we're trying to solve. Spiritual masters through the ages have devised methods different to those of science for investigating this great mystery by immersing themselves in it. making use of silence, stillness, and solitude, for example. The conclusion is clear. Science and spirituality belong to one another, and science alone cannot give anyone the full picture. That also reminds me of Marcel Vogel and how he was a scientist who became very spiritual, and he began to talk to plants and also communicate with them. And then he also studied Kundalini yoga and did transcendental meditation. Then he started working with crystals, and he found that the crystals are amazing tools that we can use that hold our consciousness and all the memories. Amazing stuff. In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word is also known as the universe, or one voice, which indicates a sound frequency. We've got to just remember who we are. That one voice or sound turns into light. The phenomenon is called sonoluminescence, whereby sound generates an emission of light. The light then becomes two halves of the whole, also known as the yin and yang principle. These two halves then split into four, representing the four elements. All other forms of matter are then created from these elements. This diagram shows how all matter stems from one substance. And I'll just cover all of this later in the presentation. The four elements are the foundations of alchemy, and they consist of a series of different sacred geometric patterns, which are sound waves. In cymatics experiments, we can see how different frequencies create different sacred geometric patterns, which have the ability to create forms from the etheric plane. In most modern scientific teachings, they leave out the fifth element, or the ether, the realm of spirit. It's spelled in different ways. This is where the concept of manifestation, also known as the secret, comes into play. We attract things into our life that resonate at specific frequencies based on our consciousness or level of awareness. This is the four rivers of the Garden of Eden. Now, these are the different symbols and also the shapes that these sound frequencies form. In our existence, we know the flower of life is also the tetragrammaton, and I'm covering that as well. But through the etheric principle is how our minds will create our reality. That's through the manifestation technique. But the emotions that we emit are actually the carrier wave that then send out and react with the ether to create beautiful patterns out in the world. And we can pull these different experiences in by becoming magnetic through the blood and through the heart. The ether, what is now known as quantum, is the interconnected fabric of a matrix of energy, also known as the tetragrammaton, which connects us to all things and operates based on the principles of the four elements. Each particle or aspect of the matrix contains one of the four elements, which are represented by the star tetrahedron. And as you can see, it's mass, energy, and matter, but it's really light and sound as well. Each element has positive and negative ions, which interlock to other elements and create new forms. And these colors actually matter because they're all part of the language of the elements. The tetragrammaton is the interlocking star tetrahedrons of the four elements. Oops, sorry, I went forward too fast. The matrix is a series of interlocking pyramids which are holographic in nature. It attracts with our thoughts, or it reacts with our thoughts, which are scalar waves. The tetragrammaton has also been called God, or how God connects to all things. And see, this is one of the crop circles that was made in the more recent past. This image, we see how the tetragrammaton relates to the design in this crop circle. It seems someone has been trying to give us a message. These crop circles, I've watched a video where they show these orbs of light, they're orange orbs, and they go about spinning in all directions, forming crop circles at night. Now, whether it's, that's plausible or not, I believe it is, because as you start to learn hermetics, you begin to know that you can take your consciousness outside of your body. And as you become more powerful in your being and knowing the energies of magnetism, you can actually start to interact with the ether with just your mind outside of your body. Some parts of the world still know the foundations of our reality. This is the Sri Yantra that is used in India. It's used in meditations for attainment of certain qualities. This is amazing. When you actually stare at this, these shapes will start to emerge and it starts reacting with your subconscious mind. I have one on my screensaver now that I can just look at from time to time. The Sri Yantra is based on the Tetragrammaton, and it contains all the other sacred geometries within its design. Yantras are used like stereogram posters, where you stare at the image and allow your vision to blur, and the image then begins to take on a 3D holographic form. Yantras work with the subconscious mind, which is the hidden aspect of our true selves. The subconscious is considered the oversoul or higher self and controls what we experience as reality. Significance of yantra. The yantras are very powerful. They help bringing in peace, prosperity, success, good health, and protection to the believers. They help if a person is trying to attain a particular result but is getting obstacles in the way. They can help a person in their personal lives and also in enhancing performance at work. The yantras are made of mystical inscriptions of several planets in the universe that aid a believer in leading a content and happy life. They are related to planets, as each of these planets have either good or bad effects, and yantras are believed to remove their harmful effects and increase their positive effects. Yantras are designed in a way to relate with the 5 elements of nature: earth, water, fire, air, and sky. And when one performs prayers regularly, it is said that they get a certain amount of power to control the nature for their own advantage. Tetrahedrons contain the 4 elements of air, fire, water, earth, activated by the ether principle, which are the foundations of everything in our reality. Symbols and colors of the 4 elements, these will always remain true. The water is always blue, the fire is always red. This one looks orange in this diagram, but earth is green and air is yellow. The colors of the 4 elements are important since they can be found throughout our world in other areas where symbolism is used as another form of language. They're here in the Platonic solids. As you can see, the fire is always this triangle. And octahedron, 8-sided, hexahedron, 6-sided, icosahedron is 20-sided, and dodecahedron, 12-sided, which is gold. That is the golden mean. Once we connect with the etheric principle and the golden mean again, we will comprehend what they were doing in the old age of Tartaria. These are all the country flags of the world. You can see their allegiances to what elements that they are aligned with. And I believe that this is what this represents, and that, each cardinal direction represents a particular element. I'm still digging for that information because they have really muddied the waters as to the true knowledge of this. It's anything goes in the internet world. All cultures worldwide once knew the meaning of life and how to use the matrix based on the power of their will and the internal and external forces of the elements. This is found around the world. You can find what they call the Star of David. It is not the Star of David. They also knew the importance of the zodiac signs, as each of the 4 elements are contained in our physical form, and one element is more prominent based on our natal chart or the time and place we're born. Astrology can teach us much about ourselves and the world around us once we learn the foundations of our reality again. The air signs are Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius. The fire signs are Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. The water signs are Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer. The earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Since our male or female bodies contain the ether and the 4 elements of the holographic matrix, the study of hermetics can teach initiates how to use the elements and the matrix through a person's willpower and imagination, therefore creating a divine trinity with God, a concept also known as magic. It was never magic. It always was and always will be the divine essence of our innate spiritual form expressing itself through a dense holographic reality, a reality that is composed of the principles of duality, which rule this plane we call Earth. There is but one cosmic substance. Evolution is the concentrative desire of mind to create the idea of many substances out of the one. Dissolution is the disintegrative desire of mind to return that which it has created back into its source in the one. So that's like the light and dark principle. One's always trying to discreate life, to stomp it out, and the other one is to create. This one substance appears to be divided into many substances known as the elements of matter. The one universal substance first divides itself into the appearance of two opposites, one on either side. This is the beginning of the idea of duality. Then two others appear as two or more opposites of the one. Then two or more increase in energy and make harder crystals, basically. So it becomes more crystalline or more structured. Then the cosmic pendulum forms one more, which registers itself as neither one opposite nor the other, but is a bisexual element of maximum opposition in all periodicities of motion. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. The seven apparently different substances are but different states of motion of the one substance. They are the 7 tones of an octave, and there are 10 octaves of 7 tones each. In the last 4 octaves are many midtones, each one registering its own state of motion. Man calls these various states of motion of the one substance by many names, and they appear to be many substances. The apparent difference between the many is due solely to the difference of motion and not to the substance. Many states of motion are possible, but there are not 2 substances in the universe. There's only one substance. There can be only one substance, as all states of motion are measurable and are under the absolute control of mind. And as man is mind, men may, with dawning knowledge of causes, change any one state of motion into many other states of motion, and by so doing, transmute any one substance into any other one. The granite rock may become gold or radium at the will of man. We merely lost this knowledge of how to work with the ether. Science is beginning to prove that spirituality, aka magic, exists. We are witnessing the foundations of true knowledge returning to the world. DNA molecules can teleport, is what a Nobel Peace Prize winner says. Telepathic DNA, a Nobel Prize-winning biologist has ignited controversy after publishing details of an experiment in which a fragment of DNA appeared to teleport or imprint itself between test tubes. Very fascinating information as science starts to prove these things. Through many experiments and much case study, they have proven that atoms don't actually touch and that we are living in a holographic reality. The DNA is likely a holographic projection, like all light and matter. Atomic black holes have magnetic vortices from the quark-gluon plasma. All atoms have extremely brief transitory existences, being holograms. We lost the knowledge of our world long ago through over 2,000 years of wars and the rewriting of history. The foundations of the Hermetic teachings, aka magic, were systematically removed from the minds of the people through the use of fear and death. And the foundational wisdom of earth was fragmented and subsequently lost from the collective consciousness. There's an entire lost history to catch up on, and sacred geometry and alchemy can help us learn the foundations of that knowledge. One of the foundations is that the flower of life depicted in ancient Egypt and the Tetragrammaton are one and the same. Now, this Assyrian wall at Abydos is very hard to see, but it is engraved into the design and is there, in the foundation stones. I imagine the reason why a lot of these structures, the ancient structures, were destroyed is because it held all of this knowledge. And we're starting to find it again over in the Grand Canyon with the Egyptian artifacts and some of the artifacts from India that people are finding there now. Once we learn the knowledge again, we can then comprehend the interconnectedness of all things. The flower of life is a sacred geometric shape, a symbol of the interconnection of all that is. The beautiful hexagonal pattern, composed of 19 complete circles interwoven with 36 arcs, is believed to be the template from which all life springs. Throughout history, across countries and continents, we find this venerated pattern entwined with math, science, art, and healing. We've all heard the phrase, thoughts create things, or where your mind goes, energy flows. These words were not for mere entertainment. You direct your thoughts and your thoughts become things. You create your reality. The sages and philosophers of old were trying to leave behind a legacy of information to be passed down through the ages of time as a guide for those to come after them. Before you can change the world around you, you must learn to change the world within you, which means the belief systems that we have today have to come down. And we need to just open our minds to new information and the lost knowledge and foundational knowledge of mysteries are merely hidden knowledge. Once they are revealed, the knowledge can then be used to benefit or harm others. This is where the concept of white and black magic comes into play. And as you can see in this first diagram on the first circle, it has the symbol for tomorrow world, because they knew these people who know the future and the past, they are greater in consciousness than us, and they can leave little breadcrumbs for us to follow. They know that the world is evolving and shifting into greater awareness. Each aspect of white or black magic has its origins in the yin and yang principle of duality, a concept that rules our entire existence. And as you can see here, in the yin and yang, you have the male and the female. You have active and passive, left, right, summer, winter, cold, hot, fire, water. Everything is based in these two principles. Once you realize this, you realize that your entire world and everything around you is alchemy, and that we are all chemists. The male and female principle are represented as the yin and yang, or dualistic aspect of everything. Here, the hexagram is unity of all elements and the union between male and female. Here's some more of the polarities and how they are represented in these different alchemical symbols. These symbols of these triangles actually make up what they call the Star of David. It just tells you what they've done. They've known and held this knowledge sacred away from the rest of us, and they've not taught us anything. Here we are again with the different zodiac signs and how the masculine and yang side are represented by these particular signs. The air and water principles are here with earth. So here's earth and water and fire and air on the left side. This image depicts more aspects of the elements and the correlation to our world. Fire and air are made of protons or yang energy, while earth and water are electrons or yin energy. And this is how I started coming up with the idea, once I saw that the fire element is actually the pyramid shape, the upright pyramid. That's how I started looking at the cell phone towers and their construction. Because once you start learning the metals that are associated with each planet, you realize why some of the metals are poisonous to our form, as opposed to silver and copper, which are the yin principle. Silver, colloidal silver and copper have always been used in our cutlery and our plates and bowls and things because it was beneficial to our lives. But when we incorporate the fire principle, we're actually doing ourselves harm. And once you gain the eyes to see this awareness of radionics and these fields of energy and all of these metals and all of these other things, you start to realize that we're swimming in a soup of chaos. And the chaos energy is destroying us, but we have no idea. Once the basic principles of yin and yang are learned, we can figure out the solutions to many problems by looking at the opposing quality through the elements. The spirit is part of the fire principle of light, which descends to the earth plane from the heavens above to be locked into time and space, shown here as the cube shape. In Platonic solids, Earth and Saturn are both cube-shaped, therefore creating a binary field of light and dark energy to create time and space for us to experience what we call a material world. Here's some examples of Kepler's sketches with Plato's symbolism. These are the Platonic solids, and as you can see, cube equals Earth, because Earth is the space. Saturn provides the time. He's always referred to as Chronos, or Father Time, or death, because death comes with time. And then he's also considered the Sandman because he rules our dreams. We're going to get into this in a moment. Here's some of the cube symbolism from the corpse orations, known as corporations. It's actually corpse orations because they are a death cult. They're part of the cult of the black cube of Saturn. And these black magi out here in the world are actually using this energy to basically rule over us and to bring about death and destruction of our world. This is Plato's symbolism enlarged so that you can kind of get a look at some of the shapes. Here's the symbolism, Saturn worship or cube worship, 8 points of time and space. And as you can see here, it also forms the Freemasonic compass and square. They know things, guys. They've been practicing magic for eons. I believe
that
that
almost looks like DNA. The white.
Yes, as well, because as in all things, it's all part of the one. Everything is part of the other. And, you know, the Ouroboros is the recycle program that we go through time and space for the soul to experience different challenges, to grow more light through those experiences. And then when the soul grows in self-awareness and then more awareness through each incarnation, you can then choose at some point when you find the keys to the universe to be able to live a long life or not, because your mind has created all of this consciousness and awareness through knowledge. Then you can then send out on your own journey to either choose a life or not a life. And then, you know, how long you want to live your life. It's all knowledge. Everything is. The trinity of Earth, Sun, and Saturn create the plane of existence for souls to experience a slow, tactile environment in order to have life lessons to learn from. Our spirits are merely thought or thoth energy when not incarnated in a physical body. In odorum suavitas, Latin for in sweet favor, and Moses took them from off their hands and burnt them on the altar upon the burnt offering. They were consecrations for a sweet savor. It is an offering made by fire unto the Lord, who is Saturn. This is Saturn's cube. Now, this whole notion of barbecue and all this stuff is an ode to Saturn, or the dark lord, or the dark energy. To sacrifice animals, to eat of the flesh, makes you a death eater. Think about these things and what it means in the spirit form. You know, if we are spirits having a physical experience, when we eat death, it pulls us closer to the dark lord instead of to the light, the sun, which is life. Life and light sound the same, but they're also here in the plants. The plants sacrifice themselves for us. It also increases our light energy when we eat plants, because you are what you eat. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we have innate abilities through the ether principle that were never taught to us. These are some of the different currents of energy in the auric field that flow outward. Now, this is a lot of information, and I just brought this chart so that people can see how the light frequencies come into the body through the chakras. And they're the 7 chakras that connect to the 7 rays of light. The ether rests as potential, awaiting the commands from the mind. Through that 4 river of the Garden of Eden and the ether principle, we can start to learn how to create beautiful things with just our minds, because all is mind. Therefore, we are like mini gods in the making, made from the stars and the wandering stars we call planets, who came to walk upon the earth in order to have an earthly experience. This is why the men and women of the last golden age depicted the gods as human forms, because they knew the true source of power dwelt within themselves, the divine kings and queens of the world, united in purpose to co-create reality together. Our bodies are the true temple to meet or know God. It houses the spirit and is considered the vessel from which all things are manifested through the will of the mind. Notice the compass in this guy's hand to the left. This leads to connecting more dots in other occult areas of knowledge. After much research in many different subjects, I literally woke up one day with my subconscious mind telling me what Freemasonry is all about. The new architects of the universe are us. We are being forged through our experiences to become more godlike through our choices of free will. Freemasonry is three masonry. The TH and the F are very similar in sound, and Mason is a word that stems from the word matter or mater or mother, meaning earth, and son or sun, which contains a lazy O. They are the same meaning. Sun and sun are the same. The sound frequency of a word always carries the weight or value of the meaning due to its creative properties in our universe. It's one voice and it's based in sound. Freemasonry is three masonry because it's a reference to the Trinity of woman, man, and Holy Spirit. The sun, moon, and stars are the holy light from heaven in the sky above us, which represents our own light and true divinity. This image correctly depicts the Holy Trinity, which includes woman and man. You cannot have one without the other. Again,
but I saw on the news that you could.
Well, that's what this whole thing, the darkness is also trying to overwrite the code, the code for light. It's what the darkness does. It's always trying to, drown out the light. So they're trying to plant this knowledge of, just creating chaos everywhere in the world through all these divine principles and the four elements. And it's misleading us light beings, the ones who are here to try to help people awaken. We're here to try to get them back and to bring them back into this whole circle that we are one through this kind of seed planting that we're doing. So, it's going to change eventually, but we have to go through all of these different alchemical processes of the 12 ages. And that is part of alchemy. Every bit of it, all things. Cooking is alchemy. Creating colors for art is actually alchemy. I had no idea. It's an amazing thing. We'll get into it in a minute when we get to the chakras. Again, the divine feminine and masculine energies can be found in yin yang, which is the dualistic nature of everything in our existence. We've already gone over that. But here's another image. This idea of red shift, blue shift that we've heard out in the world, the red being the fire, the blue being the water. This is the yin and yang principle. It's divine feminine and masculine. So it's different waves, sine waves of energy, which are basically sound and light waves. The logos is a frequency or word. Logos definition, Greek term for word, reason, or plan, plural, logoi. In ancient Greek philosophy and early Christian theology, the divine reason implicit in the cosmos, ordering it and giving it form and meaning. The concept is also found in Indian, Egyptian, and Persian. Let me get this. Where's my little my cursor? I have my little Zoom bar that hangs out at the bottom and it covers up my text.
Right.
I'm like, oh my gosh, can they just make this thing disappear? The concept. I know. I'm like, where is it? Oh my gosh, I got to figure out how to use the controls. It's also found in Indian, Egyptian, Persian, philosophical, and theological systems. If I can just get the words out. I'm so electrically charged right now. I'm charged with light energy. And it's exploding out of me. The masters of the Golden Age knew the wisdom of the principles of yin and yang and its connection to the four elements. They created the mystery schools for initiates to learn about themselves and their connection to the cosmos. Those original masters of Freemasonry also built stone buildings that actually emitted beneficial energy through the knowledge of the elements and the ether because they knew the secret keys to the universe. This is it, guys. These are all built in sacred geometric patterns based on the four elements. And since they knew that stone was part of earth and part of the yin principle, they worked with it. And so they created all these beautiful harmonic patterns that could then work with the etheric plane to then resonate frequencies of radionic energy outwards, because it sends invisible fields of energy that we cannot see because it's light energy. Light, you cannot see light. What we see is matter, and the light reflects off of matter. Notice how when people shoot these rockets up into the atmosphere beyond the surface of Earth and they go into the blackness void, you can't see the stars anymore because you can't see light. You have to have matter to see light. The golden mean is the golden triangle, the golden ratio, the golden section, and the divine proportion. It's the rule of thirds. The modern rule of thirds comes from the principle of the golden mean as a useful method to determine where to place an object in the frame. Here's the golden ratio. This is part of Tataria. They knew the golden mean would bring about golden age, basically, because it resonated with beautiful frequencies of the ether and of earth. Oh my gosh, this is what Tataria was all about. And that's why it's everywhere. It was the golden age, and it's the lost knowledge that we're trying to attain. So here it is. I mean, look at how huge this was. It was because we were working with the Hyperboreans. They were helping us remember who we are and what we can do with our minds and our consciousness once we unify in purpose. It's why it's called the universe. We are one, and we are a circle of life. Once we unify collectively again, and we think in balance and in terms of this knowledge of circles and cycles of time and all of this lost wisdom, oh my gosh, we're going to bring about the golden age. I just wish we could bring it about faster, because I know I was a part of this. This is why I'm so passionate about it. The golden mean was used in construction of natural materials to work in perfect harmony with Earth's resonant frequency for the benefit of all life. The ancients knew about the beneficial frequencies that are emitted through sacred shapes, which resonate with the sound of specific light frequencies and affect all things. Any 2D or 3D geometric pattern created on a surface also radiates with a field of energy that affects the tetragrammaton matrix. This information comes from the use of sigil magic used by alchemists and magi, and is also used in radionics. Only through natural earth energies can life thrive. Synthetic frequencies alter the consciousness in the fields of earth and life, therefore depleting nature and the balance of the natural world. All shapes, colors, and sounds emit frequencies that benefit or harm life. We currently reside within chaos energy fields that do not sustain us, nor the natural world. We actually live and dwell in Saturnian cube boxes. That Saturnian cube energy is also affecting us and our life. But also think of this. So another thing that came to my mind after researching Yggdrasil and then knowing that the Vikings used to bury their dead basically out on a funeral pyre over water and then ignite the body with fire. That was a purification process. It was not just a ritual based in, unfounded knowledge. They knew that being buried in the earth allowed the possibility for future magi or necromancers to come in, take the bones and the DNA and perform rituals to be able to bring them back into the world from the death principle, because you can do this in necromancy. You can actually summon the dead, which is quite possibly what these dark magi have done after the fall of Atlantis. They were summoning principles of darkness, as we know from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, that it spoke of them summoning the black spirits and also these reptilian spirits into our world. What has happened? That's what we're trying to figure out. What exactly has happened and what has been happening up to this day, especially what we know with Hollywood coming out with all of this dark content of death and destruction and demons and possessions and spirits and all this. They're telling us they are trying to get more humans to sink deeper into the darkness before the light comes to save them. Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm totally into TV and movies and stuff, but I have a really tough time now, especially watching horror films. Like, maybe Hellraiser, just because I grew up watching the Hell. This is the box. These are the Cenobites, because it's. But the other horror stuff, I can't watch it. I don't do it. Sci-fi, thumbs up. Horror films, no way. What about you? I mean, Walking Dead's different, right? You've got zombies, but that's not scary. They're like, ugh. It's like a soap opera with zombies, right?
No, so they were basically talking about humanity in The Walking Dead. The zombies are the people who are not awake on any level. Their minds are in the Saturnian Black Mirror, the phone. They've basically sunk their souls into these devices. And that's why they're coming up with the metaverse, so that they can then capture the consciousness, because they can upload the consciousness to the cloud. And what are they going to do? Apparently, they have bodies that they can clone, that they call sleeves, that they can actually download the consciousness into a sleeve. And you can choose, what type of body you want and when you want to die and all this stuff. That comes into the Bible, where it says that they will long for death, but it will not come, because they'll be locked into the Borg. And they're just going to be, constantly living out an experience and then get tired of the experience. It's like, no, you're locked in now. What are you going to do? I believe that at some point the light will set them free if they choose, because everything is based on free will. Everything. It's us. It's our consciousness. And that's what we have to learn again, is that we are not this physical body, but this consciousness that decided to come down and choose this moment to have these experiences. And so what you're talking about, though, with the darkness, it's very important for people to start thinking about how they're allowing this darkness based on their free will choices, again, through alcohol, which comes from a term that is al-kul, which means flesh-eating spirit in Arabic, and in Arabia, they do not allow public drunkenness at all. You cannot, because they know what it actually means. Like this whole notion of spirits that we embrace as alcohol because we want to have a good time and get out of our minds. It's all a deception from the dark ones who actually started making distilleries. Now, there was a prohibition in the 1700s too against the distilleries that were starting to come about again. And then they wiped the different levels of humanity's consciousness, because they started taking the individuals, the adults, they would take them into these insane asylums and do experiments on them, because that's where Mother Circe or Pharmakia comes in. Circe is Kirk, and Kirk, Kirke, is church. Now, I'm not trying to squelch anyone's belief systems, but they really haven't looked into where all this stuff comes from. And Mother Circe was a mother. She was a woman, a witch. They called her a witch. And she was a demon goddess type thing, I guess, because she loved turning people into animals. And these are the things, once you start studying hermeneutics, you'll learn that absolutely you can start going into the consciousness of an animal, because it's part of remote viewing. And then remote viewing from trees and every other thing, you can actually go and just peer out from all these different aspects of our world, because it's all one mind. That's why it's the universe. But, raising awareness on some of these ways that people are actually getting these entity attachments that's holding them down into the lower states of consciousness, and this anger. And, it's all the antithesis of what love is, basically. And the notion that pharmakia and drugs, because pharmakia is drugs and sorcery, literally from the Greek term, it's holding us back. It's actually allowing these dark spirits to come in. So to get back to nature, we have to learn what heals the body naturally. But it starts with us and how we perceive others. Because if we feel like someone is offending us because they don't believe what we do, that's an illusion. That's a lie, Let the soul have its own journey. and just come together in purpose, unite once again in purpose to bring about a positive change in the world, which is through divine love. That's the green of the heart chakra. That's the green in nature. Yeah, we're going to get back into that.
Nice. Okay. Well, yeah, I didn't mean to pattern interrupt there. Now, I'm going to timestamp this because
this is great.
That part from 11:21 to 11:36, that 15-minute clip there is going to be exclusive for Patreon and for the website here. And for those that are here on the website, thank you for being here. It looks like a wonderful audience in the chat. We've got the live shows are always free on the website, unedited, uncensored. And we want to share as much information as we can with as many people as we can. And if you can afford $10 a month, you'll get access to 4,500 podcasts in the archives. And if not, that's okay too. We got free trial memberships and we got 4,000 plus videos on YouTube and Rumble and all over the place. So thank you for being here with us. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the mute button and I'm all ears again. So thank you.
Okay. Let's pick up where we left off. I might have to back it up a page. Let me find my cursor. Here we go. I'm going to back up one level just to remind ourselves. Okay, so we were here through the all shapes, colors, and sounds emit frequencies that benefit or harm life. We currently reside within chaos energy fields that do not sustain us, nor the natural world. It's all Saturnian. Saturn is our father who will challenge us. It is not really good or evil. It's just a challenger. So here we go. We cannot survive without our Earth Mother. As she suffers, so shall all life, including us. We are part of nature. In order to progress into the future in a more positive manner, we must elevate our consciousness and take action to become the change we wish to see in the world for the benefit of all life. Knowing the powers of the four elements and our ability to focus on more positive actions that benefit all life will have a profound effect when more people awaken to the value of this notion. The mysteries of our ancestors are waiting to be rediscovered so we can truly become the one voice again. Shapes such as these in this image were used as harmonic amplifiers to enhance the qualities of water and the environment. The science of radionics currently employs the use of Tesla coils and other elements inside boxes that use dials and knobs that tune into etheric frequencies to heal people. Another method of harnessing etheric energy is to design sigils or symbols and seals to harness the power of the ether through magical means. The radionic spirals have been used for thousands of years to push and pull radionic energy based on the clockwise or counterclockwise direction of the spiral. Spiraling energy. Now, from the Lakota Indians, that has been stated that counterclockwise pushes out energy and clockwise brings in energy or pulls energy. And as you can see, this is obviously an elven, what they call Gothic is probably elven or elder. They embedded this symbol in the floor, because even as it is embedded in the stone, it is resonating with a field of energy that is pushing and pulling the light forces. And these are just samples of radionic devices that they make today. They work with the user's minds and intentions. This is also based, the Tepaphone was one that they used with an image of a person to do some damage. So, but this is what we can do with the etheric field. Your intentions are going to affect you karmically. So if you think that you can go out here in the world and use these devices for harm, you will absolutely get smacked back by karma. And I'm not even kidding. These are some samples of sigils. As you can see to the left, some of these mimic the alchemical symbols. So different designs actually harness star power above our heads. It's very important. This is where magic comes into play. The chandeliers of light that we call stars over our head never change. How can we be a spiraling ball if they're always the same? That's just a question I'm putting out there, but apparently what the magi of today and yesterday used to do is they harness the energy of the stars. These basic light frequencies that stars emit can be harnessed, and they harness them through these seals and symbols. Sigils are merely geometric designs, sometimes based in alchemy, that are imbibed with their creator's will. They utilize the elemental powers of the ether as well as the star energy from the heavens above us. The intent or will of their creator gives the designs their purpose. Since many of the symbols are used repeatedly by other practitioners, the power they contain becomes stronger as more intentions are added with those of the person who created the first symbol or seal. Geomancy is used in a similar way by using geometric designs on a grander scale to emit or harness energy from the surrounding environment through natural means. Star forts, OMG. Star forts react through the radionic frequencies of light using the four-element principle of earth and sky, or fire too. All of the four elements are used in these methods. That's why, getting back to the principles and foundations of the four elements will begin to open the eyes of the initiate who wishes to delve into that knowledge. Star forts harness the power of the four elements to create beautifully balanced frequencies. Their designs typically included water, and water contains very special properties. Many people already know about Dr. Masaru Emoto's research regarding the consciousness of water. Star patterns are the vehicle of life and consciousness because they emanate from the star tetrahedron shapes of the tetragrammaton. And as you can see, the beautiful positive energy creates beautiful patterns in these different snowflakes. And what Dr. Masaru did is he froze the water in order to be able to see the patterns of these star formations. And when you put out the negative energy, it destroys the star formations. Crystalline structures are said to be the foundation of our world, and since nearly everything contains water, we can begin to see how the water and the tetragrammaton are very similar. Could they be one and the same? As we know, the water evaporates and becomes the air principle, I guess. It evaporates up to the sky and then rains back down. Now, this is an example of geomancy in Washington, D.C. Do the rulers of our world know the secrets of the universe, and have they been using the knowledge to their advantage? I would say that's a definitive yes, but I'd put that question out there. It would seem that they've been hiding this knowledge in plain sight. Is it for power and control of our world or something else? A peculiar series of events happened in the recent past. The U.S. state capitals were relocated from their original cities, as well as the capital of the USA, and there are man-made lakes in every state. If the time and place of our birth can determine our personalities, could the relocation of capitals to new longitude and latitude lines possibly alter the resonant frequency of the environment somehow? I think so. I think there's some connection. All shapes and forms contain angles that radiate with a holographic and alchemical effect on the tetragrammaton matrix, meaning that by drawing or creating these patterns, you can affect or alter reality. If you take a speed square or protractor and draw the 33rd degree angle of Freemasonry in a triangle pattern, you will create a pentagram. I did this one morning. That morning that I had awoken to get up and draw a pentagram, a 33rd degree angle. And I was like, what in the world? And I was like, oh my goodness. The pentagram can be used as a divine tool to create many things by using the power of the mind over the material world through the use of the four elements plus spirit. Pentagram, from the Greek term pente, which means five, gramma, and a letter. In the science of magic, the pentalpha is called the holy and mysterious pentagram. Elphius Levi says that the pentagram is the star of the magicians or magians. It is the sign of the word made flesh. And according to the direction of its rays, that is, as it points upward with 1 point or with 2, it represents the good or the evil principle, order or disorder. The blessed lamb of Ormsd and of St. John, or the accursed god of Mendes, initiation or profanation, Lucifer or Vesper, the morning or the evening star, Mary or Lilith, victory or death, light or darkness. And I have to add that Lucifer and Vesper are Venus. Lucifer is the morning star and Venus is the evening star that brings in the darkness. The 4 cardinal directions, plus the day of the week, the time, and the cycles of planetary bodies emit fields of energy all around us, which can be harnessed and used for good once the knowledge is obtained. Astrologers and farmers still use this heavenly guidance and the energies from the planets for their practices. A man named Rudolf Steiner also utilized this knowledge and was the founder of the biodynamic approach to agriculture. He was a highly trained scientist and respected philosopher in his time. He later came into prominence for his spiritual scientific approach to knowledge called anthroposophy, by utilizing secrets of the universe in order to restore aspects of nature back to their natural vitality. Magic is neither good nor evil, just as a knife is neither good nor evil. The determining factor is the intent of the person's will who wields the knowledge to either benefit or harm others. Practitioners of black magic sometimes employ the power of the underworld from dark spirits to gain power or information, hence the spirit end facing downward on the pentagram. Most information regarding magic has been skewed and washed over, so people will fear it and never know their own innate power. Knowledge should never be feared. It's what people do with the knowledge that matters the most. Through the knowledge of alchemy and the elements outside and inside of us, we can reconstruct the lost foundations of our world so we can know our full potential and who we truly are. The 3 principles are based in sulfur, salt, and mercury. Sulfur is the fire or spirit, salt is the material world or body, and mercury is the mind. These things are very foundational and they tie into every aspect of our physical and ethereal being. As you can see, the moons are the metals. The moon, the Mercury, all the planets, heavenly bodies, these are the 7 main planetary bodies that we use. They are associated with different metals. The moon and Venus are the feminine energy, the yin principle. All the rest are yang. These 2 yin principles are beneficial to our lives. This is why we used to have silverware, is because it's antiseptic, it's antimicrobic, and making colloidal silver can actually remove parasites and things from your body. These are all the foundational things that they did not want us to have so that Circe could take over. Here's alchemical charts. You can see some of the symbols. The sun, the symbol for the sun is also the symbol for gold. And this golden symbol is what is basically a relation to that Mercator's map of the from the 1500s that shows Hyperborea. And also Terra is an alchemical symbol that has a plus sign, which is Earth. This actually is also relating to the center of the earth, which is considered gold because they always live and dwell in the golden age. It is said that the Hyperboreans are waiting for us to come into awareness and to stop fighting each other so that they can bring us back into this oneness that we all really, truly want. Once you go down these trails, you'll start finding all this truth, but that is another tale for another time. The alchemy of magic utilizes the hours, days, and planetary cycles to manifest the desired outcome of the practitioner. As you can see, the hours hold power, just like a clock and a calendar and all of these things. Time doesn't exist, but you can actually affect our reality through this knowledge of time, on how the sun places itself in the sky, on how the moon places itself in the sky, and all of the other planetary bodies. You can bring in different energies. The 7 planets of the week. Here we go. The sun is gold. Moon is silver. Mars, the male sign. He's also Iron Man. See that? They've been putting it in our face in movies. Mercury. Here you go. It actually has the horns of Taurus attached to a feminine sign. Now here's Jupiter. Looks like a 24 or 21. You know, what's that 21? What is the thing for the DNA? It's like 21andMe or something like
23andMe.
Yeah, I mean, all this stuff, they all this stuff means something. They don't make up these terms from out of nowhere. They actually use some of this occult knowledge
to bring about the names of the corpse orations. Yeah, they're corpse orations, not corporations. Here's Venus, Saturn, our all-knowing father, the Lord of the Rings. He's right there. High awareness of our world is our key to salvation during this wheel of fortune, great wheel or great will of time. And see, notice how the words sound the same, because we traverse this wheel of time around through each age, reincarnating and coming back in. In the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, there are keys to retaining your knowledge that you attain in this life. And I'll let people discover that as they go and discover the Emerald Tablets, because there's a lot of information there. We all work with the ether to co-create our reality together. The foundations of these teachings can be found in Hermetics, which were the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, aka Thoth, the ibis-headed alchemist of Egypt. We are all chemists. Chem was the ancient name for Egypt. Our DNA is also ancient, and it contains the genetic memories of the past. Thinking, sorry, my little box is away. Thinking is electric. Knowing is magnetic. Meditation is the key that will open the door to your inner self, wherein lies all true power for material manifestation. For as sound springs from the silences, so does positive action come from inner knowing. Be still and know. In other words, listen to your thoughts. If you don't know how to meditate, begin by just listening to your breathing, sitting in the stillness, listening to your breathing, allowing your mind to be silenced. These are the first foundational teachings in Hermetics, to silence the mind. Sorry, I keep hitting the thing and I haven't clicked on the page yet. The image to the left also shows the left-hand path, right-hand path, and the middle pillar used in magic, which this middle path is the golden mean. It's about polishing your personality, your ego. The middle path is for a magi who obtains the knowledge of both dark and light magic. With this knowledge comes great power and responsibility. And it reminds me of the scene in Lord of the Rings where Gandalf fights the Balrog. Gandalf was a gray wizard before he fought the Balrog, but because he sacrificed himself through the knowledge of black and white magic against the darkness, he then emerged as a white wizard. This was symbolic of polishing yourself to the golden mean principle. The path to great knowledge begins through Hermetics, Kabbalah, and fully knowing thyself. Doing the inner work to perfect one's character is also called the golden mean by Aristotle. It is the alchemy of the philosopher's stone, polishing the stone, which is the character flaws and ego, to its perfected form, to then become glistening gold, the golden light of the sun, or to shine like the sun, bringing illumination through knowledge of self and the power of the elements within and without. As within, so without, as above, so below. The macrocosm, which is the exterior world, and the microcosm, the body and interior world, are one and the same. And I'm going to show you how this ties into each other. This is just a diagram to show you, as above, so below. Man is a measure of the universe. The universe is one voice. The principle of mentalism. This is from the Kabbalion. The all is mind. The universe is mental, the Kabbalion. This principle embodies the truth that all is mind. It explains that the all, which is the substantial reality underlying all the outward manifestations and appearances which we know under the terms of the material universe, the phenomena of life, matter, energy, and, in short, all that is apparent to our material senses, is spirit, which in itself is unknowable and undefinable, but which may be considered and thought of as a universal, infinite living mind. It also explains that all the phenomenal world or universe is simply a mental creation of the all, subject to the laws of created things, and that the universe as a whole and in its parts or units has its experience in the mind of the all, in which mind we live and move and have our being. This principle, by establishing the mental nature of the universe, easily explains all of the varied mental and psychic phenomena that occupy such a large portion of the public attention, and which, without such explanation, are non-understandable and defy scientific treatment. An understanding of the great Hermetic principle of mentalism enables the individual to readily grasp the laws of the mental universe and to apply the same to his well-being and advancement. The Hermetic student is enabled to apply intelligently the great mental laws instead of using them in a haphazard manner. With the master key in his possession, the student may unlock the many doors of the mental and psychic temple of knowledge and enter the same freely and intelligently. This principle explains the true nature of energy, power, and matter, and why and how all these are subordinate to the mastery of mind. One of the old Hermetic masters wrote long ages ago, "He who grasps the truth of the mental nature of the universe is well advanced on the path to mastery." And these words are as true today as at the time they were first written. Without this master key, mastery is impossible, and the student knocks in vain at the many doors of the temple. The seven Hermetic principles upon which the entire Hermetic philosophy is based are as follows: the principle of mentalism, the principle of correspondence, the principle of vibration, the principle of polarity, the principle of rhythm, the principle of cause and effect, and the principle of gender. The power of the mind is absolute. Thoughts create things. The body is a vessel that can radiate energy at different frequencies. You can tune into higher or lower frequencies by raising or lowering your emotional states. It's similar to changing the station on a radio. The body and mind are the antenna moving around in fields of energies that have positive and negative polarities, while constantly sending and receiving signals to detect these ever-changing energetic fields in the environment. As I mentioned before, the macrocosm and the microcosm are one and the same, as within, so without, as above, so below. Let's take a look at our world and see how it relates to our physical body. The world knows many religions, but nature has but one truth, and that's by Manly P. Hall. As you can see, here's the Freemasonic compass and square. They've known things for a very long time. Earth and her nature can teach us many things if we just learn to listen and pay close attention once more. She speaks to us through the heart. Earth spells heart, but the H is at the end of the word. She is the heart chakra, shown here as the color green. And as you can see, these are all the different frequencies of light that come into our body through the chakras. All the seven colors, the seven rays that we see in our visual spectrum, are tied to these energy centers in the body. And you can go and find this little diagram online because you can see where you might need to open up the specific chakra based on this whole idea and notion of duality. Nature is green because we live in her heart, also known as Middle Earth. The heart chakra is also in the middle with the 3 chakras above and 3 chakras below. Earth is also our heart. She responds to our thoughts and emotions. The plants feel our intentions and can also feel our love or ire. Earth is also our heart. Okay, I just want to show this book. I have this book, and Marcel Vogel actually was working on some of these experiments during the time that this book came out. This is The Secret Life of Plants. They were researching the consciousness of plants, and they connected the plants to machines. And in the lab, they performed experiments where they were they actually had boiling water, and they would kill these tiny little microorganisms, and the plants would then react on one of those, I forgot what they call them. It's like the lie detector test. I forgot what they call the sinograph thing.
Polygraph?
Yeah, it's like a polygraph type thing that they attached it to. And as they performed different experiments, the plants would react, and the charts, the sine wave on the chart would like spike upwards as they were putting thoughts to the plants. They actually had a woman come into the room. They had a plant that was sitting there, and the woman would come in and just acknowledge the plant and then move on. And then another woman would come in and would send the plant loving thoughts and move on. And then another woman came in and ripped the leaves off the plant. And then when the other woman came back in the room that had ripped off the leaves, the plant reacted again. So they are expressing themselves, but we just can't hear them because we've lost all this knowledge. So Earth's throat chakra can be seen in the blue sky above. It is the watery realm of rain. Just like when we swallow, we create saliva to rain with our food. Inside her are the fiery realms where the yellow, orange, and red chakra colors can be found in what we know as magma, just like the alchemy of fire and digestion to break down substances to be used as fuel for the body. The third eye chakra and crown are above in the sky. The crown is where the shining light realm is, also known as heaven or the rays of the sun. In Egypt, they knew the true meaning of what the sun was and what it represented. They weren't simply worshiping it. They knew well the paths to obtain enlightenment. That's why they left a legacy in stone for the generations to come after them. On the opposite spectrum of light is the darkness or nighttime, which represents Saturn's realm. Saturn is considered the black sun. He is also known by many names: Kronos or Father Time, the Grim Reaper or Death, the Sandman or ruler of the dream realm. In religious circles, he's known as Satan. In movies, he is portrayed as many evil characters such as J.R.R. Tolkien's Sauron because he is Lord of the Rings. Saturn is Lord of the Rings because all other heavenly bodies are within his sphere of influence. One ring to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them. Saturn's energy is anything dark or hidden. It is known as the black sun or black cube. It's anything black which is associated with death. Therefore, it is the antithesis of light and life. But it is an energy, and it is a challenger. Saturn is considered our holy father, actually, and he will challenge you, especially if you have Saturn energy in one of your birth charts. He can influence our lives, and he influences all of us. He challenges us to learn lessons and to move on. We are bound to Saturn and Earth's cube influence due to the nature of time and space. It is the divine order of the cosmos to allow the universal mind or one mind to experience itself through different perspectives. This is done through shrouding or darkening our memory from any past life experiences, therefore binding us to darkness or creating a veil. Kronos' time will challenge each individual through different life lessons. When an individual learns to use deep introspection on their experiences and to change patterns that have been repeating themselves, the lessons will then evolve to new ones. Saturn's energy rules Aquarius, challenging mankind to recognize the divinity within themselves and to make choices for better or worse depending on the free will of the soul. Oneness versus separation. Once upon a time, the idea of oneness was all the world knew. Nature's cycles guided everything in life. People lived by the rise and set of the sun. Our ancestors counted the year from the solstice and equinoxes, and time was defined by the moon and the moon phases and the seasons. In modern times, oneness has been replaced by a worldview in which we see ourselves as individuals separate from the world around us. We isolate ourselves, protecting our bodies from the forces of nature, yet these are the very sources of our potential and power. Time has become a linear digital thought form instead of a cosmic cycle. We are saturated and overwhelmed with electromagnetic stimuli and conflicting directives to such an extent that we become numb to the potential available to us in the cosmos and in our own bodies. We can bring the world back into balance through our thoughts and intentions. Here's a little chart. Self-awareness is the first step. Self-exploration, the second. Self-discovery, the third. Self-understanding, number 4. Self-love is 5. Self-transformation, 6. Self-mastery, number 7. This existence isn't about learning to accept reality, but rather remembering your power to create it. You are the owner of the reality you wish to create, not the one that they told you to believe. Meditate, visualize, and create your own reality, and the universe will simply reflect back at you. The kingdom of light is waiting for us above our heads. Some of our forefathers of consciousness graduated from this plane to the realm of light. Are you ready to ascend to the higher realms? What you think, you become. All is mind, the Kabbalion. And that is the end of the presentation.
Oh, that was great. No, that was fantastic. I think people are gonna have to step it up now because slideshow presentations are really awesome. And I appreciate that. We definitely need to do this again. So what do you take with all this? Like, where do you take it all?
From this, you begin to do introspection into the world around you. and you make decisions of whether you want to, everybody has free will to choose any path. For myself, my goal is to reduce the amount of chaos in my immediate environment. For example, having too many material things, they're affecting us in fields of energy that we cannot see, and it's causing chaos in our lives. And if we simplify, because that idea of feng shui goes back to the yin and yang principle and putting different items and shapes in different power directions. And, that's a whole nother level of creating. Everybody wants to be prosperous. So what are we creating now? First, we have to think about how we were raised. Many of us have been raised with this idea of a scarcity program in the subconscious. And so now what we can do is go, okay, instead of the scarcity program, how can I change that? Well, through subliminal programming of your subconscious, because the music industry and Hollywood are out here programming people's consciousness for them by repeating things constantly showing you deaths, constantly showing you violence and all this. It's creating in your subconscious, because you are a very powerful manifester, but you have not yet known that. Most of us haven't. I've only come into this awareness in the past probably 15 years or so. I'm starting to learn that, hey, what I'm wishing for is actually coming true. But it's about coming back and beginning with yourself and making the changes within yourself that do not serve you in the most beneficial way. But then looking around at your environment, what sort of colors are you wearing? Is it the dark colors? Is it all dark tones? Are you bringing in light colors? Because the light will start to then bring in more light into your world. This is all part of radionics, everything in existence, every shape, color, a form, anything is radiating with fields of energy. We have sigils everywhere, but we just don't know. We've never known this stuff. So it's important just to put that seed in and then think about where you want to begin making outward changes to benefit everyone. And it's really, everyone can now just say, well, I can be better to people. I can be more loving, more kind, more considerate, more compassionate, bringing about the love principles. And then, thinking about how you can help nature. With Rudolf Steiner, he actually gives you keys on how to make concoctions that will then bring about nature like nobody's business. So we can actually begin now. I actually bought the bull horns to then make the concoctions. I've got to bury them in the ground. Once I get the organic cow manure, you pack it into the horn, bury it in the ground. December is the time to bury it. Then you pull it back up sometime in May, and then you make this concoction with it, with other herbs and other things that you've already prepared. Well, you just spritz it on the ground, and life is supposed to just spring forth, because what happens is it utilizes the frequency of the stars rotating over the heads of us, and then also using the frequencies of the plants and the organic materials to then, and I'm sure the conical shape of the bullhorn, which was spiraling crystalline energy, is what helps all that go in. And then you just spritz it on the ground, and it creates all these different microbacteria that spread by hundreds of thousands in a day. I mean, it's crazy. It's like resetting the light for the earth. So I think Rudolf Steiner is very important for us right now. And those old lost knowledge, the old ways.
Nice. As you were talking, I'm like, wait a second. I wear a lot of black shirts. Does that mean that I'm join the dark side, Luke? No. We have cookies here for you.
Right. Here's what I read a study that they had done where supposedly this one football team, they wore all black one day. They decided to change their uniform, and they put on all black, and they started actually losing the game. And then they subsequently changed to the old uniform. I don't know if it's a real story, but
I feel like it can have a certain effect. And I will tell you this. So I've got a black car. Oh my gosh. I got a 30-year-old Toyota Supra. You know, it's Fast and Furious. I've had it for 20 years. The thing
Supras are awesome. That's like the Japanese icon.
No, it's a Japanese Corvette, you know. It's for
Fast
sale.
and Furious.
Yeah, no, it's for sale. It's 600 horsepower. But
No way. 600 horsepower?
Yeah,
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was into cars a long time ago. I've had that thing for 20 years.
So that's been heavily modified.
Not heavily. I didn't go into the motor, but you know, it's got the single turbo. It's Fast and Furious. I mean, it was stock when I got it, you know, and I just went and you should see that. Oh my gosh. I actually decorated it on Walking Dead. The producer actually worked on Mad Max. He was the original producer from the Mad Max series, the older one, you know, and he came to Walking Dead. And so a friend of mine who is an artist and puts on all these different events, these parties and stuff, he was going to have a Mad Max party. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I'm like, I got to dress my car up. This is just my mind, you know, like, oh no. And because I'm an artist and I'm in the movies and I know all these things where you can just remove them from whatever, I actually dressed my car up with frisket paper and googly eyes and all this stuff. And it looked like metal. And I had gun turrets on it and all this stuff. And I took it to the party. And of course, I won first place. I didn't know that there was a prize that you could win. But I dressed my Toyota Supra up to be a Mad Max car. And I got photos of it with Negan's compound. So, oh my God.
You totally got to share those photos.
Yeah, let me go find the photo because
that's awesome.
On my computer. Oh my gosh. So, oh, look, I've got the Walking Dead bat here. Oh my God. Because I painted Negan's bats. I painted a lot of the props for 4 years. So it's like, let me find all this stuff.
Thank you for sending me that shirt too.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, so my car is black, so it's Saturnian, and right now I've got like some sort of electrical issue that drains the battery. You know, it's 30 years old. I'm like, well, of course it's going to start happening. But now I'm like, can somebody just buy this? So I don't have to nickel and dime this thing.
I've got a 30-year-old minivan.
Oh, sweet.
It's an Astro van. Yeah, literally. It's about 27 years old. It's a 95. And yeah, I put so much money into that thing. And things just keep falling off, right? Like the dash, like literally the whole dash part here is falling off. I just ripped the handle off the door because sometimes it gets jammed. So this is like the third or fourth handle that I've gone through on this thing. So I get through the side on it, right? The side door, the sliding door. I have to get through the sliding door because the passenger door I've got kind of locked. It's locked in, but I've also got it wrapped with rope to hold it together, right? So yeah. The transmission that I put in it a few years ago is probably worth more than the minivan itself, but it's all-wheel drive and it's still freaking cool, but it's not nearly that freaking cool. That's what I'm talking about. Hello.
Is that ridiculous or what? I drove it to work with all this stuff on there.
Zoom in on that.
Let me see. Let me click on this. All right. So I put spikes on the hood. This bumper was foam. I had gotten some like pool noodles and then had some foam that was left over from a set. And I spray painted them silver. And then all of this is frisket paper that I painted before I ever put it on the car. This frisket paper is used for doing detail work, like for airbrushing and stuff. And it's used on cars and things for that purpose. But I painted it and aged it. There's actually some rust on here. Because they have this thing in Modern Masters paints called rust that you can make just rust paint. And then these little rivets are actually googly eyes that are spray painted silver. So I had all these googly eyes looking like rivets. I hot glued the little googly eyes on and just put the frisket paper on. And yeah, so I made these little cones. They're actually some of this craft foam that I cut into cylindrical shapes. And then I basically had a piece of frisket paper that they went onto. And I put, of course, little rivets on the paper to make them look like they're drilled in. And I bought some guns from the toy store, painted them black, and put some rust on them. So I did all that. And then I put a gun turret on the back. I had like this arm and, of course, a piece of foam for the back glass. And I had like bullets, these huge bullets hanging down off the side of it.
That is so freaking cool.
This is the stuff you do when you have knowledge and you're an artist.
Oh, you're an
So
amazing
ridiculous.
artist. That's awesome.
So
You could make my
ridiculous.
Astrovan look like a freaking I can imagine that thing would look like with spikes on it. I want spikes on my Astrovan.
So these are some of the bats. You know, Christine, I had to paint the little oval on the bat. They were rubber. A lot of them were rubber. These were real because they gave these to the producers and some of the directors. But yeah, that's the stuff that I did. It's fun.
That is so cool.
Oh yeah, here's a photo. Here's a photo. They actually had made a huge bat. This is me
Whoa.
posing with it. They made it because they were going to mount a camera onto it. And so I was like, okay, let me paint this goofy bat. And this is what we look like. You know, we look like we're homeless people because we got paint all over us and holes in our
Yeah.
clothes in the
Yeah.
studio stages.
That's awesome.
It's so ridiculous.
You're so cool, man. That's what I'm talking about.
Gosh.
Spikes and bats. and
Oh, here's
zombies.
one. Look at this. Look at this. This is me. I'm being skewered. These are the spikes for the zombies outside of
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, outside of Negan's compound. It was just a circular thing. You could just walk right up to it and just look like you're skewered.
I thought you meant like scared, like I'm scared. I'm like,
I'm
I
skewered.
see. You've been spiked.
Yeah, it's so silly, right? I got all my painting implements in my hand, but these are the jokes that we would do. Like we weren't supposed to take photos, but we did. You know,
Nice.
so
Nice.
you know, me and the crew, we would be like, okay, like quick, take a picture.
The secrets of the Walking Dead.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, oh yeah, this is like behind the scenes.
That is
More
freaking
stuff.
cool.
More stuff. Yeah. Well, I can't get in trouble anymore because you know they're done. So
Is it finally over?
yes, it is. It is finally over. But now, you know, I guess they're doing spinoffs because that whole series was carrying that network.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, AMC was being carried by Walking Dead. Now
Before
they're
Walking-
scrambling.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I was going to say before Walking Dead, people like AMC, they do reruns, right? You know, I mean, that
Mhm.
was kind of, and now it's, so The Walking Dead did get it on the map. And I'll tell you, I really liked Walking Dead for a lot of years. When I stopped watching it was when one of the main characters, who's the cool Japanese dude?
Steven, yes, Steven is his name, his real name.
He seems like,
Yeah.
Steven seems like a super cool guy.
Yeah.
And when he got taken out in the first episode, that's when
Mhm.
I was done. I was like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
I've had enough. I'm out. I'm tapping out. So
Me too.
I haven't really seen anything after that. And
Yeah,
there's been
no,
like 5 seasons, right? After that, was that season 8 or season 7? Or
they were on season 12, I think. I think they did 12.
No, I mean, what season was that? Do you remember?
Oh, that one was, oh my gosh. So I started in 2014, and I think it was either 16 or 17. And, you know, I didn't watch the episode, but I saw it online like sometime after we had even filmed it. And I didn't ever really care to read the script. It was so boring to me. I just had to be there on set, you know, like I'm just going to be here. All I got to do is just be called. So I just go in whenever they call me to, you know, go fix something. I'm like, okay, here. But yeah, that was very disturbing. And I was like, I don't want to ever watch this again. So yeah.
they definitely got the shock factor.
Yeah. Well, you know, it leaked out that Stephen got knocked off, and that's why they went back and filmed it with everyone getting killed. So nobody would know. They actually did repeat where they just filmed every single character getting killed. And that, I guess they didn't show it obviously in the film, but it was leaked at the time after the filming of that one scene with Steven getting killed. It got leaked out somehow. So they started killing off other people. Yeah.
It's interesting because a lot of these TV shows or films where a big part of the show or the film is people getting killed, I think to myself, okay, I get the shock factor and you're getting the emotional thing going. But like, where does it get to a point where it's like they're just doing it for, well, we ran out of stuff to write, so let's take out Bob. Bob, you're next.
Yeah, so there was actually remember when Beth was on there, when they had Beth?
Yeah.
She the actual actress, she didn't even know that she was going to be written out of the script that day. Nobody told her that her character was getting killed off. I don't know how you can't know, because you have to have the script, right? So they said that she got really upset before the scene. So apparently the actors don't know what they're actually going to be speaking until the day before or the day of, and then they get the script and they have to remember the lines, and then they go from there. So nothing is leaked out, I guess. So when she shows up for work that day, before she even got to be on camera, she was already crying because she didn't know that she was being written off the show. Yeah, so I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible.
Get the cameras. Hurry. She's in character right now.
Listen, I have to say, they do horrendous things to people. I was on the production down in Mexico. It's called Paradise Hotel. And oh my gosh, it's embarrassing to even say that I was associated with this. But when my friend from Hollywood, his foreman didn't want to participate. So he calls, hey, you want to go do a show in Mexico? I was like, sure. You mean I get to get this free vacation out of the country? Sweet. So yeah, I signed up for that. And when I found out what it was, I was like, oh my gosh, don't put my name in the credits, please. But so what they did is they had these actors come on. They weren't really actors. They were people like you and me who thought they were going to be in this reality show. And during the first week of filming, they were basically just doing a camera test. And they didn't tell the people that they weren't really going to be on the show. So these people were thinking that they were going to be part of the show. And it wasn't until they were done with their camera test that they told the people, they're like, oh, and by the way, you get to go home now because you're not the real actors that we want to use. And it's like, what? They don't tell people this because, it's non-disclosure and all this. Well, then, so they then, some of the actors that were going to be used for the show, individual people, they're not really actors. They put them in hotels. They put them up in hotels, and they were not allowed to interact with the outside world. That means no phone, no internet, no nothing, but you got to stay in this hotel until we decide to bring you in. Well, some of those people were in their hotel room for 6 weeks. And it's like, they didn't even get to come out. They didn't even get to be used on the show. This is the kind of stuff that they do. And I'm like, wait, what? You mean they're held captive like prisoners? And whoa, because they don't want information to get out, blah, blah. But I'm still like, wow, this is, whoa. What are they doing to people? I don't know. I'm kind of glad that I'm not there anymore, honestly. Those hours were brutal.
It's interesting you bring that up because I had a great opportunity back, I think in 2000, it was either 2018 or 2019, to go for a TV shoot as one of the main characters, actually. And they spent almost $1 million just on the 15-minute, what do you call it if it's not a trailer? It's like a teaser, I guess, like a 15-minute clip. And they put that together, and it was really cool. And it just never got picked up by the network because pretty much right after that, Corona hit. And so they're still in talks with them, though. They're still in talks about putting this series together, and we'll see what happens. But I remember when I went out there, and I still had it pretty cush because the producer like the executive producer of the film, he reached out to me and had me go out there. So we actually have a friendship. He's a great guy. And he's like, what's cool about him is even though he's in the industry and he's like a top executive for a top movie production company, he also has a huge estate in the woods, and he still like cuts all of his own firewood and basically does all of his own work. And he has people from Hollywood or all over the world fly out to his ranch, and he'll be like cutting firewood and be like, okay, now this is the deal. This is how we're going to do things around here. And they're like, whoa, he cuts his own firewood. How's, you know what I mean? So he's like super cool. But I went out there. The reason I bring this up is I went out there and it was a lot of work. I mean, it's the TV industry is no joke.
It's like, this is the internet, right?
Everything's real on the internet.
Everything's
real on the internet. Somebody wanted me to ask, and I've got to ask, Ellen.
Sure.
Do you think the earth is flat?
No, it's flound.
Okay. Just check it.
It's flound.
It's flound. It's flat in the 2D realm. If you're a 2D, okay. Where's 2D? You got a piece of paper? 2D flat. That's 2D. You've got two-dimensional points, 1 and 2. 3D, that's three-dimensional points.
2D, but if it's cube, if Earth is a cube and Saturn is a cube, then it's a cube, right? It's time and space is what it is. And how big is it is left to interpretation, because we don't have the UFOs to fly over any ice wall or down to Antarctica or do any of these things. But the other people do, and people who rule this world do. You know, they get to go here and there and everywhere, and they know how to. I believe UFOs are mostly used for phasing in and out of timelines, because everything's based on frequencies. And if you can figure out the resonant frequency of a particular timeline, then you can go there. That's where this whole idea of time travel comes in, H.G. Wells. And then also the Philadelphia experiment was basically our military experimenting with that notion of light and time. And I believe you can blip in and out of different areas of time, because it's all frequency based. If all is mind and all is consciousness, why not? I love your new duality you got going on right there.
Oh, I did it again. It happened again. I don't know
what is that?
I'm coming out of my shell.
You're coming out of the matrix. Look, it's the Borg. You got the metaverse and the metaphysical. Saturn has captured your soul.
Hold on.
Huh. Yeah, try to fit back in there. I think you got to get a little closer, maybe, like go up and closer. Yeah, up, back up just a little.
How does this happen?
So weird.
It only happens on my videos. It's never the guest. It's always me. What does that mean?
It's because it's the spirits. It's the shadow beings. That's because you're wearing black.
Are you saying I'm just a hologram here and I'm like starting to fractal out?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
No. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can fix this. Hello? No.
It's the blackness.
Now I have no video.
It's the void of Saturn.
I guess that's a sign.
You have gone dark to the dark side. Luke, I am your father.
But we've got the Gold Leak Project emblem. It's made out of gold. Got the hand for protection, the eye that sees through the veil of deceit. So, folks, we thank you so much for being here with us. And I hope you all have a beautiful afternoon, and hope to see you in about half an hour, 45 minutes. We're going to be back with Wayne Herschel for part 2 of the Christmas discoveries, the real reason behind Christmas, according to some. And Ellen, you're awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, folks, don't forget, subscribe to Ellen's YouTube channel. I'm going to show it off right now because I had it pulled up here. Here we go. We just look at it. Bam. Era of my ways. Notice I've got the bell. I've rung the bell, all notifications, and subscribe. Check out the videos. And then also Ellen's website. And that would be, is this one? Nope. That one? Nope.
Somewhere in cyberspace.
This is the Donna. Yeah, I was looking up stuff about the root
Ooh.
races.
Yes.
And,
Cool.
see, because one thing about Blavatsky that I found very interesting, I was reading her stuff and she was talking about the root races, and I'm like, oh, that's very interesting. And then she said something about the black people being born in sin or something like that. And I'm like, what? Well, how'd that happen? So
sin is the moon.
What's that?
Sin is the moon. Look up sin.
Sin in Sumerian, but I don't think that's what she was referring to. Oh, here's a star fort that I'm going to go check out.
Ooh.
This is a star fort in New Mexico.
Ooh, look at that. Oh, look, that's the 4 elements right there.
The 4 elements.
Oh, happy Kwanzaa Christmas.
Yeah, and happy holidays, everybody. Be the change you want to see.